Today I want to talk about one of the most important fundamental skills in Counter-Strike, and that is crosshair placement. So crosshair placement is essentially the art of putting your crosshair as close to where the next enemy is going to be as possible.
There's two out there.
Got both. So what this means is keeping your crosshair around head level near corners at all times, so that when you come around the corner on an enemy, or the enemy comes around the corner on you, your crosshair is already on their head, and you don't have to move your mouse at all, ideally, if you want to kill them.
Nice. Oh my god. He flew. One to left, I think. Nice!
Now, odds are you're not going to have perfect crosshair placement. It's very uncommon to actually come around the corner and have your crosshair perfectly on their head. I only did because I knew that I put that bot there. Most of the time you're going to come around the corner and it's going to be closer to something like this, but this is still a hell of a lot better than what I see most new and inexperienced players doing, right? Because right here, I don't know, I got to move my mouse an inch, half an inch to actually hit him in the head, whereas most of the time with a new player who's in silver, nova, etc., they're going to come around the corner like this. And this is a really, and let me emphasize this as much as I can, really bad habit to be in, because what this means is you're going to have to move your crosshair a huge distance and basically hit a flick shot to get a kill. Being able to flick to an enemy is certainly useful, and it's something that, you should probably know how to do. However, it makes your shot harder, and ideally, you don't want to have to flick at all. You want to come around the corner basically just ready for the guy. Or alternatively, you want to be ready for the guy when he comes around the corner. I think the biggest thing you can do to change your mindset about how you're placing your crosshair, and I think that this will help you improve overnight, is to treat every single weapon like it's a sniper rifle. Now, I say this because I frequently see people with AKs or M4s pointing them at the ground like this. I have never in my entire life seen someone with an op aiming here. Never. Why would you, right? You wouldn't. And I think it's because there's a mental switch that gets flipped as soon as you scope in. As soon as you scope in, you are in shooting mode, right? You want to be ready for an enemy. You're ready to peek them. You're ready for them to peek you. You're never going to be aiming off in the middle of nowhere with an op, right? And I think the other reasoning behind that is because it narrows your field of view, right? When I'm looking at the entire screen like this, it becomes almost overwhelming as to where, I could be putting my crosshair. But when you're scoped in with an op or a scout, it really sort of tightens you in and forces you to put your crosshair in the right place. So I think that the best thing you can do overnight right now, if you want to take anything away from this video, is just to treat your M4 like it's an op. Always be holding an angle with the M4 or coming around an angle with the M4 or AK or, whatever rifle you're using, Deagle, USP, anything. Always make sure that you are treating it like you're treating an op, because there's no real difference. Now that statement sounds a little silly because one of these guns is full auto. It shoots, 30 rounds in a mag. It doesn't insta-kill. And the other one does insta-kill. It only shoots one bullet one time and you're scoped in. But fundamentally, they both shoot a bullet, right? So why would you choose to put your bullet anywhere other than where the enemy's going to be, right? So I think a good drill for this is basically just to move around maps in a warm-up mode or in deathmatch and just practice having your crosshair in a place where an enemy could be. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as you're considering it, you will slowly improve at this skill over time. Another mistake I see really commonly, and it's not always addressed in videos about crosshair placement, so I want to touch on it quite quickly, is that a new player who's learned that they shouldn't have their crosshair on the floor will very frequently have their crosshair too high, right? They'll be aiming up here, which is better. Let me be clear about that. That is way better than having your crosshair down here. Don't let it discourage you from trying to have good crosshair placement because, my crosshair is still way closer to his head than it was in this case. But you have to keep in mind that as an enemy gets further away from you, their hitbox gets smaller, right? As I get further away from him, he gets smaller, his head gets lower on my screen, and the ground isn't always even. So you can't just keep your crosshair at like what your current head level would be and expect that to be head level everywhere, right? If I keep my crosshair at head level here, I'm nowhere near him. So you have to consider the difference in elevation and try to aim a little bit closer to him that way. One final point that I feel the need to make is that you should be keeping your crosshair close to the corner, but never on the corner. The reason for this is essentially that you don't have a perfect reaction time. You're never going to be able to click on their head the exact frame that they come around the corner. So instead, focus on keeping your crosshair where their head will be by the time you do react. Because as they come around the corner, you're going to have to kind of process that they're there and then process is not a teammate, decide to shoot, make a small adjustment. So there's no point in having your crosshair here because you're never going to shoot there anyway. The exception that I'll make to this rule is that if you're using an op or a scout, it's pretty common for someone to do what's called a shoulder peek, which is essentially where they just peek and show the corner of their hitbox without actually intending to swing you in an attempt to bait your shot out. So with an op, it can often be helpful to hold the corner really close in case they make a mistake and peek a little bit too far, like in this example Bot Irwin would be, because that'll allow you to get the kill and punish them, where you might not be able to if you were holding out here. I also want to take a minute to thank people for the overwhelmingly positive response that I got to the first video I uploaded to this channel. It's got like over 6,000 views and I'm nearly at 100 subscribers already, which is pretty incredible. I didn't expect that from, the first week of uploading one video on the channel. So if there's anything that you struggle with in Counter-Strike, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to respond either in the comment section or if it's something that really warrants it, I'm more than happy to make a full-length video on it, as I do have a few more planned. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it informative, I hope you learned something, and I hope it helps you perform better in your games coming up.